I performed one of the most severe break-ins possible on my Honda Trail 125. And the report card is back from my Blackstone Labs oil analysis. And today I wanted to share those results with you to see how bad it really was on my little engine. We're also going to pull the spark plug and see how that held up over the last 1,700 miles. And while the spark plug's out, I'm going to use this Boroscope to see how the cylinder looks inside the engine. Now, the official break-in procedure for the CT125 is pretty straightforward. During the first 300 miles of operation, avoid full throttle starts. Those can side load the cylinders and apply additional forces that could cause the rings to prematurely wear out during the break-in period. Avoid rapid acceleration. Those kind of go hand in hand, full throttle, rapid acceleration. Avoid rapid downshifts because that will jerk the engine around, jerk the main countershaft bearing, those kind of components of the motorcycle. And then, of course, ride conservatively. And I essentially broke all of those rules. And I know a lot of folks are going to say, hey, you destroyed the engine during break-in. And we'll get to the results in a minute here. But I do want to explain why I essentially rode wide open throttle pretty much everywhere during the first 300 miles. I didn't necessarily rapidly accelerate, but once you hit about 35 miles per hour on this motorcycle, if you want to go much higher, you are spending most of your time at 80 to 100% throttle. I live in a region where most of the roads are rural back roads with 55 mile per hour speed limits, and to not infuriate other vehicles around me, I tried to go as close to that speed limit as possible. Wide open throttle uphill, this thing will go 40 to 45 miles per hour. Downhill, I might hit 60, and we all know in a 55 mile an hour zone, most folks don't obey that speed limit. So even if you are obeying it, you are potentially causing conflict on the road. So basically, I rode the motorcycle like I stole it. But at around 100 miles, I installed an OBD2 Bluetooth reader and attached it to the Apple CarPlay because I was genuinely curious, what damage am I potentially causing to the engine? And the number one thing that concerned me was the oil temperature. The conventional oil temperature was hitting 290 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a very high temperature. Really, for an oil-cooled engine, 250 is kind of a comfortable maximum, and that is on me. And a lot of folks will run these engines for thousands of miles after break-in at wide open throttle. But at around 300 miles, I decided I was going to install this oil cooler because I do, in fact, want the engine to last a while, but I also need to be able to operate it at its maximum capability. So while I installed that oil filter, I also did an oil change. I upgraded that oil to Motul 7100, which is a synthetic oil. And the results from that are that the oil really does hover around that 212 to 240 temperature. Unless I'm really hitting extremes at wide open throttle, it will hover around 250, maybe 255 in the most extreme. So I effectively lowered the oil temperature by 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit by installing that oil cooler. Now, some folks don't like the fact that I modified this vehicle with that, but to me, it's just additional insurance that if I'm gonna go essentially wild with this bike, that I can do it for longer. During that first 300 mile break-in, I did have to top off the oil. So this is normal with break-in of an engine, especially a small engine like this, and especially how I was operating it. The combination of those high temperatures, 290 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and high RPMs was causing me to lose about a tenth of a quart, about 100, maybe 80 milliliters every 100 miles. So I added in that period 300 milliliters plus or minus a little bit to retain that topped off OEM oil level. Since I have installed that oil cooler, I have not changed the way that I operate, but I also have not had to top off the oil since that change over the last 1,000 miles. So what I have in my hand here is the Blackstone Lab report from that first 348 mile oil change that I did with the Honda OEM. I had also heard, just so you guys are aware, hey, Honda has a special break-in oil. I didn't see any evidence of that in this break-in analysis. And reading the Blackstone analysis and knowing exactly how I rode the motorcycle, the results do not surprise me. This is the first oil change on your new bike, and that's why there's extra metal and silicon in this sample. So hey, I'm riding at wide open throttle. I am more rapidly potentially breaking in the engine as well, and that's why I had a higher volume of metal. A lot of the metal is from the initial wear-in of new parts, and silicon is from sealers and gaskets used during assembly. After a few oil changes, your results should look more like universal averages, which show typical wear after 630 miles of use. The average first change is 630 miles. That's of course the OEM interval for the first major maintenance is 600 miles. And so I am premature on that. But the next note really clued me into why I am glad that I made the decision to install the oil cooler and change the oil at the same time. It says the viscosity is low, and that may turn out to be a common find for your Honda. Potentially. I'm going to blame it on my driving. Many motorcycle engines harmlessly shear the oil, and this one may as well. No excess fuel or water was found. So far, so good. So first of all, I would not have expected to find water in my oil air-cooled engine, but excess fuel would have been a hint that I was damaging the rings. Since there is no excess fuel or nothing detectable, then I am on track with a standard break-in still based on that. But the most alarming result from that is this SUS viscosity. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of that term, and the Centistokes viscosity, which is pretty common here in the US at 100 degrees Celsius. What this says is the averages for my sample should have been between 9.7 and 11.9. I had an average, and that's consistent with 10W30 oil, or in this case 30 weight oil at the temperature they tested it. My sample came out at 8.35 centistokes, which actually equates to approximately a 20 weight grade oil. So in that first 300 miles, I essentially sheared the oil down to the equivalent of a 20 weight oil. I also want to point out that when I did that oil change, I put in 10W40 oil because again, I'm running at a high severity operating state for this engine, and I want to actually provide it the best opportunity to be successful at that state. I do plan to do a follow-up. I'm debating on whether or not I want to do an oil change right now or just run it to its 4,000 mile interval and just see what happens with the oil. And the only reason I am even considering that instead of just changing at 1,000 miles of service is because that Motul 7100 oil is red. Well, if I look at the dipstick right now, it's still basically red, so it's not really showing any signs of degradation. That is, in fact, an operating characteristic of that higher grade, or excuse me, higher quality potentially synthetic oil. So the key takeaway from that Blackstone oil analysis is that besides the thinning, the shearing of the oil, nothing else really seemed out of tolerance for a standard break-in. Does that mean I didn't cause piston damage or other damage to potentially rotating mass parts in there? I will only know if I ever have a failure or if for some reason I have to go inside of the engine. But what I can do now is I'm going to pull that spark plug. We're going to take a look at the spark plug, and then we will look inside of the cylinder and just see how it looks with the Boroscope. To remove the spark plug, I'm going to use this 5/8 inch spark plug socket that I have. It is actually a 16 mil, but I believe this is close enough to get it without causing any damage to the spark plug. I also want to point out that I did install this titanium exhaust. You know, it's really not a loud exhaust, but it gives the bike a better note. And I have had no problems with it, but we might see something on the spark plug that maybe reveals a lean or a rich condition from running this exhaust. The first thing I want to do here is just see if I can ease off. Oh, and that's going to come off nice and easy. The spark plug boot. And I'll just rest it right there out of the way. And here's where you can tell that this is a beautifully engineered Japanese design. Even though I have kind of this trombone pipe in the way right here, it does not inhibit essentially a direct line with my long extension into that spark plug. But let's get that broken out and see how it looks inside. And I've really got to tell you, I am genuinely impressed with how the spark plug looks after those first 1,700 miles on the Trail 125, almost entirely on the highway, going 55 miles per hour, plus or minus 5 miles. The plug is honestly showing zero signs of wear. The gap looks pretty good. I didn't measure the gap. I may measure the gap before I throw it back in. But the end of the plug, perfect coloring. There's really no signs of any detonation at all, besides maybe a little bit of rounding on the electrode at the end. I would almost think, and of course this soot right here, I would think this is potentially a new spark plug. I did purchase this little borescope specifically to do this video, so if you don't mind, give me a thumbs up, even if you're not satisfied with how I broke in the engine. But I'm going to try to take some pictures as I get in there. I will post those as I discuss them in the video here. But let's get in there and see, how did the engine hold up? Do we still have our cross hatching? Do we have any signs of cylinder trouble in the engine? Let's check it out. Sorry about that, guys. I wanted to get familiarized with the equipment here, and what I've got is I can make a video with this, so I'm going to go ahead and start the video, and hopefully this comes out pretty good. We will see it in the edit later, but I'm going into the bore right now. Threads look pretty good, and that's the first thing I want to point out is look at those beautiful, let's see what happens here. Look at those beautiful cross hatchings. The top of the cylinder does surprisingly look potentially like it is running a little rich. So that is something I will have to look at later. You can just make out the pattern of there's a number, it looks like maybe 26P or something on top of the cylinder, and then also the pattern of the valve right there, one of the valves. Does that look like damage to my cylinder wall? Right here, maybe something scored the cylinder right there. So maybe that is a little bit of scoring right there on the cylinder wall. Does it concern me? I mean, at this point, it is what it is. And I do want to remind everybody that if I blow this engine because I'm goofing around with it like this, hey, that's on me, you know, and I do accept that. Ooh, I might have seen something on the right there. So look at that. That certainly looks like potentially scoring on the cylinder walls. It's really a tiny engine, and I think I'm about halfway up the stroke right there, I guess. I potentially have prematurely caused wear to this engine by essentially neglecting the break-in period. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It is a Honda 125. These things are designed to go through any condition possible. I do plan to continue to ride the bike like I stole it, and I will make an update as I have any future issues with this engine. Riding it like you stole it in that break-in period does potentially cause engine damage. I wish I had checked inside there with a Boroscope before I started. But anyway, truly, if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed kind of my breakdown and analysis of my severe duty break-in period, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to see how this engine performs over time, check out some of my other videos. I will post updates as I go along.